Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on Hercules and the Space Gods, we meet again with the one, the only, the legendary, the intergalactic Nick Curto of Disclosure Network New York. Greetings, Nick.
Thank you for your wonderful introduction, and it's going to be an exciting program and a very timely program tonight.
I don't doubt it at all. It is always exciting and always timely. I'll be here in case you need me.
Thank you very much, Hercules. And so this is the Disclosure Network. My name is Nick Curto. Disclosure Network, I co-founded 28 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. 28 years of programs, usually two programs a month in Manhattan. And some of our programs are Zoom and others are in person, face to face. In fact, tomorrow we're going to have one of those face to face programs in the West Village. And we have our members, and we have members from not only Manhattan and New York City, but all over the world, as a matter of fact, including Europe and Hawaii. And we're going to have a program where the members are going to be speaking about for 10 minutes each on a subject that they want to share with our membership. So that's going to be a very interesting meeting for sure. So again, I am so grateful that we have a membership of really dedicated people looking for the truth and exploring possibilities and sharing that with the group. And we do emails almost once a day when I get data, either from my own research or from my members, and I pass that on an email to the entire membership. And we are just having the most cutting edge uh, experiences and over 28 years yet of just amazing information, anything to do with ET or UFO or related subjects. And some of those related subjects are also quite amazing and need to be discussed. So with that, I want to now introduce my special guest for this program, Lori Lauber. Lori, I hope that got that right, Lauber, Lauber. I met her through our dear mutual friend, Joe Foster, when he did one of his amazing Zoom meetings very recently. And I wanted Lori absolutely to be on my program, and she accepted. And so here we are. Lori, thank you for coming. Wonderful to see you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this time to be able to share some of the information that I've gathered. And you're right, this is timely.
Boy, is it ever. And when I first got word of what was really going on in the universe, and especially our section of the Milky Way, of the universe, I was absolutely floored with some of the things that were going on. And I've been following this. And of course, you are very close on the subject. I just want to just back up a second, Lori. I read your bio, and certainly in the things you've studied and the places you've studied, wonderful records on that. Can you just briefly, within a minute or so, just briefly touch on your past educational experience, just so that the viewers get some idea?
Sure. So I have a kind of varied educational experience. I was an educator for 34 years and I retired. I was in public schools and private schools. I also taught at the Rudolf Steiner School in Bergen, Norway. And then upon my retirement, I was asked to run a space exploration center. I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Dan Marlowe, who had been an interim chair of physics at the Princeton Physics Department, and he taught me everything I needed to know about space exploration. As the director of the InfoAge Space Exploration Center, I inherited a 60-foot radio telescope and began to observe the universe with the 21 centimeter hydrogen radiation.
Wow.
And that was an eye opener. I have a background in theology as well as education, but physics ties it all together. So that is my background and why I am so interested in exploring the universe.
Wonderful. And I can see that one of those areas can go so seamlessly into the other areas.
Yeah.
That's terrific. That the way you progressed in your journey. of your life is so wonderful. And connecting the dots, we have an expression, connecting the dots to seek truth. And that's our logo for our Disclosure Network New York program. That's what we've been doing for 28 years, connecting the dots to seek truth. And boy, are you connecting the dots, my friend. You really are.
Yeah,
Now,
yes, yes. It's been quite a journey. Uh, you know, in theology, when I had to write my thesis, I thought, wow, nothing that I'm saying is provable. And so I had the opportunity to work with physics, where there can be hard data collecting and hard information, following the scientific method. And I thought, here I found it. And then using that, I learned that we know about 4% about what exists, and the rest is a mystery. We see evidence of what might exist, dark matter and dark energy, but we cannot observe dark matter or dark energy. How does that differ from a philosophical or a religious experience? We take it by faith, don't we?
yes, we
So
certainly do.
I think physics takes it by faith that dark matter and that dark energy exist. We see the evidence of things unseen. Yeah.
Wonderfully said. Absolutely true. When I was a kid, and we're talking very, very young, and I got, I think it was my folks, and then my teacher was talking about the universe and how we're on a planet within billions and billions of other planets and star clusters, and and we're traveling at so fast every hour on our planet, and I had to say, is this really real? Because when you first hear about that, it
Yeah,
just sounds so awesome, so amazing that it's really true that we're on a planet and there's other planets and possibly other beings, and it was spinning my head. And you know what? To this day, it still does.
sure.
Really
Uh,
does. And that's one of my passions, is to find out as much as possible in this life and the next about all the truth that really is there. I mean, what an incredible subject it is. Now, take us right now then to what's going on, very amazingly so, in close to our planet, where it came from and so forth. If you could just give us some idea.
right. Well, so recently, last year, 3I Atlas was observed by, or actually it was earlier this year, but last year, the system that was able to observe 3I Atlas went online. It's called 3I Atlas because it was the Atlas Observatory that was able to see this interstellar object. So 3I Atlas stands for the third interstellar object that this radio telescope has seen in our solar system. Okay, now that's fine. It saw two others, Una last year, and then now this 3I Atlas. 3I Atlas is not behaving like anything we have ever seen before. And that sent warnings to some physicists, including Avi Loeb, whose immediate reaction was, this does not appear to be a natural object, and it could be technological. If it is technological, then that means that we are about to at least encounter, with the data that we collect, another civilization. So that's why knowing about 3I Atlas is so important at this time. It originates from the same spatial quadrant in the universe as the WOW signal that we heard in 1977. The WOW signal was a signal that was received over the radio telescope on Earth, but it was a sustained signal. And when you're looking at the universe, when you see a signal and it is sustained, that means that it is intentional to some degree. It's definitely happening for a while. And then after a few seconds, and seconds is important as far as time, it disappeared. But we knew that this signal was intentional. It was coming from a particular quadrant, and 3I Atlas has come from that same quadrant. That beginning alone tells us that we need to pay attention to what it is. And then it started to give us information that we were not expecting. It has a high composition of nickel, which is not seen in comets, a normal comet. Its speed is faster than anything we've ever witnessed before. It has only 4% of water. Now, most comets have a great deal of water, but not this one. This has a high percentage of carbon dioxide. Very unusual. Nickel, carbon dioxide. Its trajectory is on the plane of all the planets in our solar system. The anomalies start to stack up. And when we look at the very latest information, which is that when it was in perihelion, that is that it was behind the sun, even though we have instruments that could observe it behind the sun, we looked at it with a stereo. Stereo is an observatory platform that we actually have on the other side of the sun that we can see things with. We can look at the sun with and see what's going on the far side of the sun. And SOHO, another observatory, we actually have 2 terrestrial observatories that have spacecraft around the other side of the sun.
I never knew that until you mentioned that. That is something that's brand new to me and probably
Well,
to most people. I never realized we did that.
they're there and they're
Is it
watching.
American? Is it from the America that these satellites are?
Yeah, and I don't know if you saying satellite would be the correct
Oh,
way to talk about them, but they are
okay.
spacecraft for sure.
Space. Okay, thank you.
And I think a satellite must revolve around the Earth. This is different. It's out. That's in outer space. It's
Wow. Well,
far
do
from
any
us.
other countries have anything like that?
Yes, of course. The European space agencies have ESA, ESA. They have been observing 3I Atlas. The Chinese have several telescopes that have been observing 3I Atlas. The Saudi Arabians have telescopes that have been observing, and many strange things have happened with all the observations. The observations have not been clear. We do not understand how that is possible with every single agency around the world that has been observing. It's completely anomalous that this should happen. And NASA, 3 days ago, launched their defense system, interplanetary defense system, just in case
Wow.
something's up with 3I Atlas. It is just coming out of perihelion. That means behind the sun. But as it's coming out of perihelion, we have seen 3I Atlas change chromatically. It was a green object or emitting a green color. Now it's emitting a blue color. And the reason that that is absolutely significant is that for an object to emanate a blue color coming from behind the sun is very unusual because it means that the object has more heat than the sun itself generates.
Wow.
If it has its own internal thermal producers, this object is definitely not natural. Or if it's natural, it is definitely nothing that we understand with our physics. This is a brand new thing all around together. Something that we should at the very least, collect as much data as we possibly can.
On each of these different areas, it's
Yeah,
so exciting. Every single area you're talking about is so exciting. Really. I mean, this is cutting edge as it gets.
it's definitely cutting edge, as far as space exploration is concerned. And it's coming out. We're going to be able to have a terrestrial view on November 3rd through November 5th. Now, what we're looking at is, or what we're hoping to see, is that chromatic change and whether or not there truly is a change in trajectory, because a change in trajectory has been noticed by these spacecraft observatories. And if that is true, then this object is not behaving according to the physics that we understand about gravitational pull. It is moving on its own emissions on its own trajectory. And then if it decides, if it, it's far from us now, but if it decides to make a change and head toward Earth, I think that's the time that we'll see it on NBC, ABC, and CBS, because that's something that we have to prepare for, really.
Oh yeah, this is big news, and the general public, I don't think is too aware of this at the moment, but they're going to be for sure,
I
because
think,
as you're saying, as this comes closer, now we're in November 1 here doing our taping of the program.
yeah,
So this is coming within days. I mean, this is just amazing, absolutely amazing. One other thing I wanted to just throw in when
yeah.
you were listing the different countries that have observatories and have been looking is I was surprised that the Vatican has has an observatory. Is it one observatory or are there more than one? Do you
The
know?
Vatican?
Yeah,
I know that they have a space program, and I know that they have an observatory. Whether or not they work with other observatories, I don't know, but I do know that observatories work with one another. So, for example, when we looked at something with the TLM-18 and it was anomalous for whatever reason, I saw a massive solar flare in 2022. It was higher than anything I'd ever seen. The helium was maybe uh, 8 to 10 times higher than anything that the sun had produced before. Immediately, I called Princeton and I said, hey, can you please look at what's going on with other observatories? So the information is shared to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the instrument, to make sure that we actually saw something that was real and it was verified. So I think that if the Vatican were to see something, they would definitely look at other observatories and see what they saw. But with this object, almost every observatory that has looked at it has not been able to get a clear view. In fact, the clearest views are coming from amateur astronomers, which
interesting.
makes it even more mysterious. Why is
Wow.
no one telling us what's going on?
Wow. Now, do observatories have a sort of a deal, a pact that there are certain subjects that they would agree not to publicize? I mean, do they publicize 100% of their findings? I'd just be curious.
It depends upon who's funding the observatory.
Ah,
Right. So if the funding is coming from, the government, for example, you bet that they're going to be curtailed about what they can say and when and how. But if it's an amateur who has a dish like the TLM-18, it's an 18-meter radio dish antenna and has the ability to look at wide spectral information from an object, then that amateur can publish whatever they want. So that's what we're looking at. Unfortunately, what happens in this kind of a situation is that people create all sorts of images and videos and give out information that isn't true. But we have to be really discerning about where the information comes from and what support the information has. But with what we already know, we know that this information that I've just talked about is real and it is happening. So, yeah, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. NASA did say, yes, we launched our defense system. They had to tell us that much. They're not telling us much more than that. So,
that alone is
that alone,
gets my attention for sure. I'm sure
yeah.
you and a lot of other people, that just that one fact that NASA is really on this subject 1000%.
They're preparing for something just in case, say.
Yep.
We don't know what will happen. I am very looking forward to November 3rd through the 5th to see what it is that we see now.
I would
If
say
it
more
does,
more than the election. More
well,
than the election.
and doesn't that coincide with the election?
Yes, it's just an amazing time. The
Right,
timing on this all is just
yeah.
wild. It's just wild. And
It is wild. There is a theory that there is, and I cannot verify this,
okay,
there is a theory that there is a government program in the United States, and I think that the name of it is blue, not book, but blue something else.
Okay.
And that the plan is to talk about an interstellar object that is putting the Earth in danger just at the time when it's a crucial election, so that we are swayed in one way or another because we're afraid that we're going to get blown up. So is that true? I don't know. But here comes November 3rd and 5th. And should something really, of a great magnitude be revealed, I don't know whether this was done intentionally or not, or whether it exists at all. Who of us actually knows? I went to the InfraH Space Exploration Center to see if I could point the dish at anything near the sun. I could see some of the sun. The dish was not operational when I got there. Is this, I don't know. Is it one of those coincidences that happen to all these other observatories? I don't know. But I was able to look at the sky and I could see that there was more hydrogen than usual. I don't know if that makes a difference. Three-Eye Atlas is very, very far away from Earth. It's on the other side of the sun. So it's not going to have an atmospheric effect at the moment, but we'll see as it comes around what happens next.
Well, thank you. I also wanted to touch on the other subject of the 60-foot, what do you call it? What's the proper name for that? The scientific name? A dish?
It's a radio dish antenna.
Oh, okay. Would you talk about that and in relationship to perhaps the history of that area and
Sure.
that particular thing? Because I think it's very interesting, and I'm dying
Yeah,
to go there and visit that
wonderful. You
right.
can bounce your voice off the moon.
But
When the dish is
educate us.
operational. Yeah,
Educate us about perhaps
okay.
the history a little bit and about what is there and where is that, just so that the listeners will get some idea of what we're talking about on that one, because I think that's really interesting.
Okay. At the InfoH Space Exploration Center in Wall Township on Marconi Road, there is a 60-foot radio dish antenna called the TLM, the telemetry 18 meters or 60 foot. And it's on the site of a project that was a part of Camp Evans in 1946. And there was a team on a project called Project Diana. Project Diana because Diana is the goddess that shoots the arrow. And the idea was to shoot a signal, a radio signal, to the moon, bounce it off the moon, and with a receiver, hear the signal return. With radio, that should happen. You should be able to send a radio signal, have it bounce off of, and we used to bounce it off of the atmosphere, and have it to received here on Earth. And on January 10th, 1946, this team that had been trying for over a year was able to hear the return signal through the ionosphere. And that, to me, is the most significant event of space exploration, because once we understood that we could send a radio signal that would penetrate the atmosphere above the ionosphere, where there are molecules and protons that are and atoms that are moving very, very quickly, particularly when the sun is affecting the atmosphere. If it could penetrate the atmosphere and then penetrate the atmosphere from above the ionosphere, we could build a spacecraft that we could communicate with and control from the Earth. That was the beginning of space exploration, January 10th, 1946 at 11:58 in the morning. I think it's absolutely foundational. And the interesting thing is that I've visited NASA, I've visited SpaceX, I've visited the Space Force. And in some cases, there are these beautiful displays about space exploration. Project Diana is not mentioned in any of them. I'm stunned because it really is the beginning of space exploration. And it happened right here in New Jersey, in Wall Township on Marconi Road. It's very, very interesting. to
Well,
me.
I think that's got to be corrected because that omission isn't right. It just isn't. It's wrong not to include it. Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and I hope that the powers that be will correct that mistake.
I guess eventually, I've written letters to different space agencies. I've written letters to the NSA. It's very, very difficult with the support of the chair of physics at Princeton. It's very difficult to have those kinds of changes made. But there's always tomorrow. So we just have to keep trying to give Project Diana some sort of validation for its importance in space exploration. Um, and that did not happen with the dish that is there now. That dish, the TLM-18, was placed there in 1958. And that dish was part of something called the Tyros Weather Warning Systems. So by 1958, we're talking about 12 years, right, after the moon bounce, what we call the moon bounce, Moon-Earth transmission, we were able to build satellites that could send information that could be turned into an image using infrared data transfer. And we could see where a hurricane was and where a hurricane would be going. And that would be incredible because you could save millions of people's lives by being able to look at where a hurricane was and warn people to evacuate as the hurricane approached land. So that happened with the Tyros weather program and the Tyros weather satellites with that dish that's there today. So yeah, if you have a chance, go visit the InfoAge Space Exploration Center. It's a great place to get information. The guys there are very friendly. There is a Vanguard satellite, one of those early satellites that were deployed in the 1960s. And there's an Atlas rocket there. And of course, the TLM-18. If you go when the dish is operational, you can bounce your voice off the moon and say whatever you want. The interesting thing about that is that if you send your voice off this earth as a carrier on a signal, your voice will go out and out and out and out into the universe. And you never know what you might hear back eventually.
You know,
So
I read something. You're funny you would say that because I was
yeah,
reading something that said that uh, our transmission of radio and
yeah,
of television, I believe that's true,
yeah,
that it goes out. So
yes.
who knows? Our neighbors, right? Maybe they're Lucy fans, maybe,
You never
maybe,
know.
maybe they're seeing Ed Sullivan on the show of shows. I mean,
Right.
I mean, that's just crazy. And
Yeah.
yet, there's a truth to that
Oh,
too.
absolutely. It's absolutely true. That's what the movie Contact is based on, the idea that the first radio signals that were actually penetrated the ionosphere without us even knowing about it were during the Olympic Games in 1933, I believe it was
Wow.
1933. And the first image was Hitler saying, "Oh, I now open the Olympic Games." But aliens, heard it, saw it, and said, "Oh, we need to visit this planet." And so that's how they came, or at least sent information about how we could contact them. And that's the premise of that movie. Um, but yes, radio signals that we send from the Earth penetrate the universe. Now, I asked Google today, what is the center of the universe? And Google said there is no center to the universe. And I realized that that is true because wherever you are, no matter where you are in the universe, you are at its center, since the universe is so massive that you cannot see its edge. So the edge of the universe is always all around relative to where any transmission is. We are all the center of the universe.
Well, that's incredible. That's a wonderful way to look at it.
It's
Wow.
amazing.
You know, I saw a cartoon recently, and the cartoon had two ETs in a flying saucer, and they were looking out the window, and they saw our planet in the distance. And one of the ETs said to the other, hey, step on it. We don't want to go there for sure.
Right.
And you know, when you think of it, considering what was going on now,
Yeah.
with the planet, with the very hostile, in some cases, thinking about other countries and all that. And it made a little bit of sense, you know, that you want to go where it's friendly and
Yes.
peaceful, right? And
Yes.
the people are united and good people. And when you look at the entire planet, you can't make an argument that we're there yet. We're not at all, unfortunately.
Oh no, no, no. We're like infants, we're barely 2 years old learning how to be nice to one another in a classroom. That's how I see it.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Um,
But Nick, I am so grateful that you're bringing this information to people. The Disclosure Network is doing a fantastic job. This is something that really needs to be done. And the way that you're doing it is so authentic that I really am grateful to be here and for the work that you do,
Well, thank you
honestly.
very much for that kind word. I really appreciate that. I've always felt as though that was part of why I'm here. You know, I'm sure that you have feelings like that too, like there is a plan, that there's something that has you in certain times and
Yeah,
places that makes sense, perhaps the progress of the universe in a sense. And that's that subject I want to also explore with you, and perhaps on another program, maybe a part two. I wanted to run past you a whole lot of things of subject matters and just get your feeling, because your response, your gut feeling, I think is very important, because
mm,
sometimes
yeah,
you don't have the facts and figures, but we have a gut feeling. And I think it's a mistake not to pay attention to that. That if you're
mhm,
feeling anything or you think I really suspect blah blah blah, I think that's important to put on the table. Just, you know, and then later on, when the facts and figures and the data comes out, you'll know how close you were.
right.
Right? I mean, I really love that whole subject. It's creative and it's a gut feeling. And a lot of times what your gut feeling is saying, even though there's no particular facts, you just say, I just deeply feel blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted to ask you, um, if I, with the remaining time, and boy, this goes fast. This hour goes so
Wow.
fast. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be seeing Hercules any moment now with our
Oh,
10-minute warning. But until that time comes, um, anything you have, feelings, gut feelings about the moon, for instance, that would be
oh,
one.
the
What is
moon.
your gut
Wow.
feeling, even though you might not have
The
the
hollow
data?
moon theory. I'm intimately connected to the moon. I bounced signals off the moon for 5 years. I had so many people come and say something to the moon. I had one woman who would come every week and say a prayer for all humanity and bounced it off the moon. The moon and the Earth's relationship is too perfect for coincidence.
Yep,
It really
I do
is
know that. It's incredible the odds that the
impossible.
position and all. It's absolute. When I was adding that up, I said, this is engineered,
It
Th-
it certainly
right?
seems to be, right. We have no evidence. This is the problem. There is no evidence of that. But, of course, my gut feeling is that this was done on purpose. Now, the distance of the moon from the Earth, which is actually, um, 2.5 seconds away by radio telescope. It's
Wow.
it's not that far, but when we went to the moon, let's say that NASA did launch spaceships and that we did go to the moon, it took 4 days for the astronauts to get to the moon. Did you know that? They sat in their little capsules for 4 days to be able to just get to the moon. So it is in this position that is far enough away from us to just control our tides, to just control our the way that gravity works on this planet to some degree. it is just too, its rotation as we revolve is just too perfect. It gives us information that helps us to tell time in a spatial temporal experience that the universe is. It's like in some ways a clock, right? We can tell, it's an amazing relationship. And if you really study the moon, you see that it can't be just coincidence. It's just too perfect, in my opinion. So yeah,
One part of the answer too would be the eclipse.
the
The eclipse,
eclipse,
it's so perfect.
perfect,
Like,
perfectly aligned.
how in the world does that really, and yet it exists. We know it exists. The eclipse and the way it blocks exactly. I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
who or what did that, right? It just seems like even as
Yeah,
nature, with all due respect, and I do have definite respect for nature, but that is just beyond reason that it would be so perfect,
perfect.
right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So you start to, I've thought about it a lot. I've had a lot of time to think about it. And currently, the one true passion that I have is to study consciousness, because I do believe that everything is conscious to some degree, and we are conscious as human beings. It's as if there is a spark of awareness in every single thing, a spark of awareness. And just because we are aware the way that we are aware doesn't mean that we understand the awareness that everything else has. What, perhaps the earth and the moon are aware literally of one another and are conscious in their own way, and are in some sort of an agreement to be as partners revolving around each other. Yeah, it's, to me, it is fascinating, the idea of consciousness. And I think that because AI is able to calculate and observe very, very quickly, we do have a tool. I don't think we know how to use that tool to find the answers that we need about consciousness, but I think we should be developing the tool so that we can ask questions that are meaningful and that may actually point to something other than our limited way of understanding, because human beings are very, very limited. You're right about intuition. Intuition is the bridge between what we know, what we don't know, and what we cannot know because of our limited ability to perceive. We can't perceive the particles, for example, that are actually here. There's more empty space between us than there is solid space. So we can't function as human beings in a world in which there is more empty space. So we have to have the illusion in our consciousness that there is this solid world in order for us to exist. But it is our consciousness that perceives it. So is the moon conscious? Is the earth conscious? Are they in relationship to another? And so that brings us to the idea of aliens, for example. What is alien? What are aliens? Are they interdimensional beings? Alien is anything that is not local, that is not here. So, oh, Nick, we could go into non-local duality and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It really, thinking in these terms about consciousness, when we apply the physics that we know, really opens up doors that really need to be explored, and we need a lot of time to do that exploration. So let's hope that on November 3rd, 3i Atlas will continue to pass through our atmosphere, or rather through our solar system, not our atmosphere, and um, we can just gather data about what is possible. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's my gut feeling.
I
Yeah.
I think it's right in the right direction for sure. I loved, even as a kid, when the sci-fi movies, the reason was because it opens doors that what if blah, 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 what if blah, blah, blah. There were so many times when good science fiction opens up thoughts and doors about what if. And that's why I love that so much. It's so creative and it opens up thinking on subjects where we should add up the possibilities and say, well, that is possible, even though it might not be the data yet that we have. But think about the possibilities of what ifs, and that is, I think, fertile ground to have some real progress of saying, well, what if this? What if that? And trying to add it up and also get other people's um, gut feelings, because sometimes it's amazing how many people have a very gut feeling about things. And I do listen to that. I was talking to a policeman once, and he said, Nick, if you're ever in say, a street, and all of a sudden you're feeling something is up, that maybe you're
Hmm.
being watched, something is up, the policeman said, trust that. Trust that gut feeling. Look around. If you're not seeing anything, still trust it and get out of there. Go in an area of the street where it's more lit, where there's more people, or just simply get out of there, because you have to trust your feelings on this. And a lot of times you're right. And it's just so interesting that a policeman would say as advice for safety
Sure.
to do that, right? I want to ask one more thing about the moon. Astronauts were there. They came back. They had reports. Uh, we all know that some of that data was never made public. Do you have any feelings about some things that they weren't able to say or asked not to ever go near, about what else was their experience when they did the journeys? If you could just, I would love your opinion on that.
There is a dark side of the moon because we
Yes.
cannot see it because of the way that we revolve and it revolves. So I am sure that there are things on the moon that were not shared with the general public. Now, what those things are, I don't know. There is no information, for example, about any kinds of exploration of the surface of the moon itself below the surface. We don't have information about any instruments that were used to penetrate the surface of the moon. Now, that's curious in itself, that there is no data about that. I think that there is data about that, but we just don't have it. And they, they're not sharing it. It's just not being shared. Is it for our protection? Could there be some sort of civilization that actually brought the moon here, existed or exists in the center of the moon? We could speculate so many things, but the truth is that the lack of information, if you start to really think about what we should know, what could be done, the lack of information after traveling for 4 days, after spending billions of dollars to get there, that is not publicly available, tells the story. It's the lack of information that tells the story, isn't it? So,
Absolutely true. And
yeah.
what they saw and experienced, I'm not at all convinced that we have half the story
Oh,
of
no.
what really. Now, some of the astronauts were saying that there were things that they encountered there.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Well, wow. I mean, I don't see. Now, this is my own personal feeling, but I don't see why that wouldn't be shared. I don't think that should be
Well,
top secret or kept from the public. If they encountered something, whether it be a structure or a being, or whatever it is, of fragments of some sort of um,
civilization.
civilization, or even if it was like 10,000 years ago and there were certain things there, I don't see the problem of telling the public that. And I think that the lid has been kept on that. Now this is my personal feeling. I'm not a scientist. I don't have
Yes.
access to all that data.
Yes.
Certainly, I don't for a second believe that we know everything that they saw and heard and felt. I don't believe that at all.
I completely believe that you're right. Um, but, you know, it's kind of funny because I make these connections between religion, at least the Judeo-Christian tradition, and what we understand scientifically. The idea that you keep your lamp lit because you don't know the day or time when, you know, it'll all end, is the same reason, in my opinion, for why the data is kept from us, the information is kept from us. Would society function the way that it does? We really are in some sort of a matrix where everyone does what they have to do to have their house and their car and feed their children and have the human experience. Would we do those things if we knew that this isn't it? This is not all that there is. There is much more. And we really have incredible choices. We could be working our way off this planet. We might need to work. Well, how do you keep the people on this planet keeping the system going? Can't tell them, you know?
Yeah.
There were aliens on the moon, perhaps. I think that that's part of it. Yeah, so that's why they wouldn't share. I think that's
There's so much that we don't know. A lot of it's deliberate that we don't know it because it's not being revealed. And secrets are ways of controlling. I mean, we know that's true. Keeping information secrets from either one person or a whole civilization is a way of controlling on many levels. And
right.
that I have a lot of trouble and problems with that whole concept. I just want to ask you a couple more quick questions before we're running out of time, but I got
Okay.
to ask you, have
Yeah.
you seen in your own life anything that would you would feel as though was a craft, an ET, a UFO of some sort? Has there been anything like that in your own personal life?
Yes. Yes. Once you've had an experience of seeing something that is completely inexplicable, you cannot forget it. So I, in 1975, was in Nutley with 4 or 3 other friends, and we saw a glowing blue triangle in the sky with pulsating lights. We literally stopped the car, got out of the car because it was stationary. And we all looked at it and we all said to one another, "Do you see that? Do you see that? Yeah, I see that." We the first thing you want to do is make sure, you know, it's just not me. And we all said, "Yeah, what the heck is that?" You know what? There weren't cell phones in 1975, or those phones would have come out and we would have taken pictures. We didn't have cameras. We looked at the thing and then we said to ourselves, "Wow, we're seeing something that's not what is," and in fact, we called the police. The thing all of a sudden sped away at a speed that was impossible for anything that we'd
Here we
ever
go. Here
experienced.
we go. What, like
It
you said before, once
just
you have that experience,
Get it.
it just changes every perspective. It
Yeah,
changes everything. Well, I see we're
it
going
was
for the
weird.
last
I think
10
you're right.
minutes.
I think
So what
you're
I want
right.
to ask you a couple of questions. If someone had a question or a comment, Lori, would
Yes.
you have a way that they could contact you?
Yep, they could contact me through my email. It's just simply LORILAUBER at gmail.com. Very simple.
I
Email is
think
the
it's
way that
very smart that you've got a simple that people, it's your name, it's your name without any spaces or dots
nothing.
between it.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is what? Your
Lori
name.
Lauber at gmail.com.
Perfect. You know, I asked that question and some people have an answer that's like 5 or 6 words. And I'm thinking that's a mistake because no one's going to remember that. So smart that you did that, you know.
I've had it for a long time, and it is, you know, my email for this kind of thing with ISEC, the information center that I work with, the Space Exploration Center that I worked with. And so I'm used to getting all sorts of questions, you know, coming into that email. So yes, that is it.
That's wonderful. If anybody has a question or comment for me, I'm going to give you my email. It also is on the bottom of the screen. It's NICKNYNY, the numeral 1 at gmail.com. And I'd be honored to get any comment or question you might have. Always, I welcome that. That's an open door. Also, if you want to find out more about the organization Disclosure Network New York, we have Zoom meetings, so you could be anywhere in the world and you can see a Zoom meeting. Again, the membership is incredible. And these are researchers that really go deep, and I think you'd find it a very rewarding experience, and I can give you information about that. So with that, Lori, thank you so much. I want to do a part 2 with you for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Thank
I'll
you
find
so
out
much.
what your
Thank you for
schedule
having,
is.
yeah. Thanks for having this platform to deliver information or to just make information available to everyone. Nick, you're doing a fantastic job. This is real good work.
Thank you so much, Lori. A pleasure to know you, and I really look forward to sharing a lot more with you. Thank you so much for being on the program. And with that, this is Nick Curto for Disclosure Network New York saying, keep your mind open to the possibilities, look for the right data, and know that we're not alone and that we're part of a cosmic family, and that I give love not only to this planet, but for all the other planets and beings of the universes. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you.
Good night.
And thank you both for an excellent, informative, and entertaining show. You've given me lots of things to look up and think about, so thank you for that. And for those who enjoy Nick Curto, he is on not only on the first Saturday of the month for the Disclosure Network, but the fourth Saturday of the month for the Urantia book. And he's also on the third Sunday of each month for UFO Entity Enigma. And occasionally we get him for one of our science fiction shows where he discusses these possible futures and his thoughts about them. So again, thank you very much. Thanks to all our listeners for listening in. Until next time, this is us wishing you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Much
Good
love.
night.
Much love to everyone, everywhere.
Good night.